Hi friends, welcome! My name is Baron, and this is my channel where I talk about book stuff. I'm the Book Baron. Welcome in. So, this is the video from hell. I have tried to record this, I kid you not, no fewer than 5 times. The sun is being a butthole, and so it's causing weird glares and all sorts of fun stuff. So if the lighting changes throughout this video, I apologize. There's literally nothing I can do about it. But you don't care about that. What do you care about? You care about the fact that there's a bunch of series that I'm in the middle of that actually plan to finish at some point, or hope to, aspire to finish at some point. Have them all organized from least popular to most popular, and I have a little bit about each of them, the tropes, how long they are, how many I've gotten through, are they on KU, give you all the dirty details. That said, I am going to leave off The Expanse, which is a sci-fi series that I'm in the middle of, because I'm guessing that if you're here for romance stuff that I'm reading. Just know that I also plan to finish that at some point. But without further preamble, let's get into things. First up, I have the Sacrificial Lamb series by C.A. Renee. This is a 4 novella or short book series. It's not on KU, however, the first book is free. That is the one that I have read, which is called Sing Me a Song. The first 2 books follow the same couple, and then the second 2 books, 3 and 4, follow 2 different couples. It's age gap, it's dark romance, it's rock star, it's got a little bit of secret society culty vibe. In general, this is about a band that has brought a bunch of strippers to a private island in order to celebrate their lead guitarist's birthday. And while all of these strippers are very excited because they are going to be earning some cold hard cash, and a lot of it, they're being compensated very well for their time, they find out that they might be in over their head. And maybe there's some secrets afoot that they were not privy to prior to these arrangements. The first one leaves off in a big cliffhanger. It gave us new information in the epilogue where I was like, mind melted. I'm so excited to get to the second book and really all the other books in the series. Next up, I have Passion and Venom by S. Williams, better known as Shannara Williams. All of her darker stuff, I believe, is under S. Williams. This is a series of 3 longer novellas or shorter books, and it follows the same couple throughout. These books just got put on KU this year, so that's very exciting. I have read the first book earlier this year. This is dark, mafia, and captor captive, my favorite. Generally, this is about Gianna, who on her wedding day ends up having her husband shot in front of her. She is taken captive by a rival mafia group. Now, she is in horrible conditions, but when the leader of this group comes to check things out, he realizes he actually knows her, and he offers her better circumstances, better arrangements, but she has to listen to his every command, and she's not really in a position to bargain with him, so she goes along with it. This is pretty dark. Actually, the first series is very dark too, so just like with everything, make sure you're checking triggers before you get into any of these books. I've read the first book, and I read it on a plane. I highly do not recommend doing that. It is pretty spice forward, and there was a lot of me kind of hovering like this with my Kindle so that my seat neighbor couldn't tell what I was reading. Next up, I have Linear Tactical by Janie Crouch. So this is a 10-book series, and it's got a ton of short stories and interconnected novellas and all sorts of other stuff, but there's 10 main books. This is one that I question whether I'll ever finish, but I love using these books as palette cleansers. These are on KU, and she does frequently have sales or freebies where she'll have the first few audiobooks available to you. So if you're more of an audiobook person, just a little heads up on that, check out her sales page. I have read, I believe, the first 2 books, Cyclone and Eagle. Generally, what this series is about, because these are interconnected standalones, it's about a group of ex-military men who have started up a company called Linear Tactical in their small town. And I believe it's in like Montana or Wyoming or somewhere that's a little bit more rural. They provide survival training as well as self-defense courses based on their time in the military. Each book follows a different person from this company falling in love. I love, as I said, to use these books as palette cleansers. They are a little bit more formulaic. They kind of remind me of either like Catherine Cowles or Nora Roberts. These books are very easy for me to consume, and it's the perfect balance for me of mystery and romance. Next up, I have Their Vampire Queen, so perfect for this time of year, and that is by Jolie Sue Burkhart. This is 6 books, but there's a ton of interconnected novellas and short stories. This is on KU. I've read I think, the first 3 books. These are dark vampire wide shoes following the same gal throughout. The premise of this is that the main gal has lost her mother to this creepy, spooky monster that is now coming after her. So she's been on the run, she's exhausted, she's constantly got to follow all these rules to make sure she doesn't get caught. Just when she thinks the monster's finally going to get her, 2 vampire knights appear out of nowhere and help a girl out. And they announce that they are her blood, which are vampire knights basically. And she's actually a long lost vampire queen, and they've been hunting for her for so long. She didn't know this, but as she figures all this out, she has to get a handle on these new powers that she has, and she has to navigate this political landscape that she had no idea about. Each book, it's her adding to her coven and tackling a new aspect of this political landscape, of which there's a lot to deal with. And this one is perfect for this time of year. I mean, it's nice and spooky. There's a lot of blood plagues. We've got vampires, so heads up with that. And it's poly, so a little fun extra bit for you. Next up, I have A Gathering of Dragons by Mila Vane. And this is not on KU. I've read the first 2 books. I believe the 3rd book is coming out soon. I don't know if this will complete the series or not. So there may be even more books coming. This is a barbarian fantasy romance, so think kind of like Game of Thrones-esque. So just generally, this follows different couples through this realm, but there's a greater political plot line with the destroyer who was once defeated, and he's kind of coming back into power. And this is all these like political pieces kind of moving together with each book. So I would still recommend reading them in order. First book is Enemies to Lovers. It's A Heart of Blood and Ashes, and the guy finds out his parents have been murdered under very suspicious circumstances, and he decides he's gonna get some revenge, and he ends up aligning himself with our main gal. She basically wants to use their combined power in order to move against their combined enemy. So it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The next book is A Touch of Stone and Snow, and our main gal has been kicked out of her clan, different area, different clan, but she ends up running across in her travels her childhood best friend. She is tasked with protecting him on a quest from Vela, the goddess. And the 3rd book, A Dance of Smoke and Stone. Is it really a video with me if I don't screw something up? The title is actually A Dance of Smoke and Steel. I wasn't even close. Has yet to come out. The heir to another throne is seeking a quest also from Vela. She is tasked with serving Saxon, who is a former demon warlord. So enemies again. It's just a fun fantasy series. Like I said, very Game of Thrones-esque. But I will say that the name is a little bit deceptive because it's called A Gathering of Dragons, and dragons is like a class of warrior. It's not actual dragons. Although there's like weird dinosaur things, so that's kind of fun. Next up, I have The Insiders by Tijin. This is a 3-book series, follows the same couple. It's not on KU. I read the first book earlier this year, way earlier this year, like January, February. Like bodyguard, billionaire, kind of some romantic suspense. This follows Bailey, who is this genius. She's super into computers. She's a hacker gal. She ends up being attacked by these men and finds out that her dad is actually this tech billionaire genius that she has idolized for years. So for her safety, she needs to go live with Daddy Dearest, and she also needs to get a bodyguard, one of his colleagues named Cash. There's a lot of question marks around him. He's somehow connected to the family, although it's not totally clear how. He's sort of the fixer for everyone in this family, who messes up a ton. It's about Bailey navigating her attraction to Cash and also this billionaire lifestyle that she's completely not accustomed to, and a family that's not super stoked to have her. All right, next up in a similar vein, keeping up with the tech hacker goodness, we've got Next Level by Brianna Michaels. This is a 3-book series. It's on KU. I've read the first book and absolutely loved it. The first book is Glitch, and that follows Glitch and Aura, who are friends. They game online together, but they've never met in person until her computer breaks and Glitch offers to fix it. The second book is about Flip and Aaron. Flip is Glitch's friend. Oh man, I screwed up again. His name is Trey, not Flip. And he is sleeping with Glitch's sister, who is a single mom, and she just wants to keep it casual. The third book, which was released sometime this year, is Click, and that follows Corin and Mac. I'm not really sure how these two factor into the larger group because I haven't read the second book, so I'm sure that's revealed there. But Mac essentially hires Karen to do a boudoir sexy photo shoot, and he becomes her primal playground. It's supposed to be more of like a fling. There's supposed to be pretty clear boundaries here. I'm assuming that this is somehow tied in with their larger gamer group, but I'm so excited to get to the rest of these books. They're very sexy. Next up, keeping in the vein of sexy, we have the Nashville Neighbor series, which is 5 books and counting. I don't know if there's plans to have more. These are not on KU. I've read 3 books, and I've read the first book, the second book, and the 4th book. These are ultra steamy contemporary romances that follow different neighbors in a Nashville neighborhood, as the series would suggest. These are kind of like loosely connected, and I'll try and explain a little bit about the connections that I'm aware of so you see how they kind of all work together. We have the first book, which is The Doctor. Definitely recommend this one for anyone who has read Birthday Girl and loved that. It's age gap. It's ex-boyfriend's dad. He's a doctor. The second book is The Pool Boy. This is their neighbor and Preston, the ex-boyfriend from the first one. It's his friend. It's reverse age gap, rock star, kind of on the rise. They're in the music industry together. She's a divorced music producer. She gets caught topless sunbathing by her pool boy, who is her, so it's not only Preston's friend, but this is her friend's son as well. So lots of dynamics at play here. Third book, which I haven't read, is The Architect. I don't really know how all these people fit in, unfortunately, because I haven't read it. But it's Minaj, and there's this guy that has a lot of work, so he ends up hiring someone to take care of his wife. You know what I'm saying? The sexy kind, not the kind. The 4th book, which I have read, is The Frat Boy. These are 2 college students that get kicked out of their frat and need a place to stay and a way to earn some extra cash. So they both try out for a spicy content house that's in this neighborhood. Basically, they're forced to live and work together in very sexy circumstances. The main guy is friends with Preston, the doctor's son from the first book, and also with the pool boy from the second book. That one's my favorite so far. Finally, the 5th book, which just released recently, which I have not read yet, is Good Girl, and this is about Preston. So from the very first book, the ex-boyfriend, he finally gets his redemption arc, and it is lessons in seduction with a good girl who happens to be Colin from the Frat Boy. It's his younger sister. So lots of complex goings on here. Hopefully I helped make it clear how it's connected, but maybe I just made it worse, so. Next up, I have of Flesh and Bone series, and I have read the first book, What Lies Beyond the Veil by Harper L. Woods. This is a 3-book series. It's on KU. As I said, I've only read the first book, but I have this special edition of it, and how beautiful is this? Oh, and look at this. I just like, this is stunning. I got this as a gift, and I'm just, oh, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. But anyway, this is a dark fantasy romance. It follows the same couple throughout the entire series, but basically, there's been a veil between the human world and the Fae world that has protected humans. One day it just rips open and all hell breaks loose. These Fae are coming through, marking the humans that they want, and the guard there on the human side will literally kill people before they allow them to be taken by the Fae. This almost happens to our main gal when she is rescued by a mysterious stranger and they go on the run together. There's a big twist at the end of this that was very wild. So I am excited to read the rest of this, but I have to be in the mood for this type of fantasy because I'm more of a vampire girly than I am a Fae girl. Next up, I have the Windy City series by Liz Tomford. So this is an incomplete series. I think the 3rd book just released, like when I'm filming this, I think it released like today. And I don't know if there's plans to be more, but as of right now, there's 3 books in the series. It's on KU. I've read the first book at the beginning of the year and loved it. It was a little bit long for me. It needed a little bit of editing, but it was her debut and I still can't get over that. Props to you, Liz Tomford. That's impressive. These are sports romances. They're interconnected contemporaries. The fun thing about this one is that while the characters are connected, it follows completely different sports. So you get a lot of variety with the books, which I think is just so cool and unique. The first one, which I've read, is Mile High, and this follows Xander, who is a hockey bad boy, playboy type, and Stevie, who is a flight attendant for the team, and she is forbidden from fraternizing with any of the players, but Xander's got his eye on her, and we've got some plus size rep with that. The second book, which you probably heard of because everyone loves Ryan Shea, is The Right Move. Ryan is Stevie's brother, and he plays basketball in Chicago, and Indy, his love interest, is her best friend who is a flight attendant with her. Indy goes through this big breakup, and Stevie basically convinces Ryan to let Indy stay with him because he's got an extra room while she's getting back on her feet. The third book, I don't know how this one is connected, and again, it's probably revealed somewhere in the second book, but this is about Kai, who is a baseball player. He is in need of a nanny, and Miller, her father, gets in the mix and says, Miller, you should be the nanny here. She's really just like a wild child. I'm kind of getting like Willa vibes from Heartless. She's a high-end pastry chef, and this to her is just a stopping off point, but she got talked into this, so she's going to nanny this kid. Only 2 more series here, folks. So next up, I have the Off-Campus series by Woods. This has 4 main books and a 5th book that I think is several novellas like squished together. This is now on KU, which is very exciting. It wasn't before. I have read the first book, The Deal, I think a couple years ago now, but this is hockey sports romance, new adult, and it's very tropey. In general, each of the books follows a different hockey player from the Briar U team. It explores a slightly different version of good girl, playboy, bad boy type. The first book, The Deal, is fake dating. It's sort of like lessons in seduction as well. Hannah tutors him in exchange for fake dating him in order to catch the attention of another guy on campus. The Mistake is Grace and Logan, and I think this is more second chance. They kind of have like an initial hookup, I believe. The Score, Allie and Dean, they have a one-night stand, and then he pursues her. So maybe I mixed those 2 up. I don't know. I'm sure someone could correct me. And then the 4th one is Surprise Pregnancy, and that is with Sabrina and Tucker. I'm sure you can find lots more on these. These are very, very popular books. Finally, we have the Ice Planet Barbarian series by Ruby Dixon. I know, unexpected, but this has, I believe, 2 billion books and 4 million spinoffs, something like that. I definitely counted these earlier. These are on KU. These are ones that I like to use as palette cleansers. They're a little bit more formulaic. Again, I think I've read 4. These are alien romances. It's got a fated mates element to it. The basic premise of this, a spaceship full of human women who were abducted from Earth by these other gross aliens ends up crash landing on a planet they call Not Hoth. They are forced to explore the planet when they realize that they are running out of goods, and honestly, they don't want to get picked back up by the aliens that allowed them to crash land there. And they run into these blue aliens that are a dying race. There's not enough women. They can't breed. And they have a queen which resonates within them when they find their true mate. Each book follows a different couple, and there are lots of different couples to follow. Lots of procreation breeder vibes, so if you're into that sort of thing, there's tons of that in here. But those are all of the series that I am hoping I can finish. Let me know what series you're in the middle of. Have you read any of these series? Don't forget to like this video if you like it. Subscribe if you want more content from me. And I hope I see you on my next video. Bye-bye.